Let me start back recording. All right. It's all yours, Carmen.
Yeah, I hear you. Like my Zoom minimized and then it started tripping. It wouldn't let me unmute my mic. All right, cool. So gonna keep this,
Um,
compact because I told you guys on the last Zoom call what we were going to talk about. And so I'll go ahead and get started. Give me a sec and I will share my screen. Uh, all right. So um I feel like a lot of you who were on that call are on this call now, the call where I gave out the questions. So I think everybody for the most part now is on the call. There are a few additional people. So we're just gonna start by going through the questions. We're gonna talk about business, and then we're also going to move into the mindset portion as well. So um for every stock, you should answer these questions. And if you don't know how to find the answer, or if you don't know how to necessarily answer the question, ask, reach out, put it in the group. Because I'm pretty sure there's somebody in the group, if I'm not able to immediately respond, who's done this before, who's in the middle of doing it, or they can give you their interpretation and how they saw the question. So you can use these questions for any type of business. It doesn't have to be stocks, but because we're talking about stocks now, we're trying to lay the foundation. These are questions that we're going to go over. So why are you investing in the business? That is super important because you need to know why you're doing it in the first place. Do you actually understand the business and what they do? Does the business have long-lasting business model, a long-lasting business model, and can it compete within their sector or industry? Can this business grow and expand? And if so, can they do so without going broke? Can you explain the company and what they do in an easy way? And then check out their website. Every company that's traded publicly, they've had an IPO. If you can go to a stock exchange and find them, they have an investors relations page. Know the CEO, CFO, president, check out their reports to the SEC, so on and so forth. So in doing this, I chose a company to go over tonight that everybody kind of has an understanding of for the most part. It's a company we're all relatively familiar with. Um, so I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about Apple. So we're talking about Apple. I'm going to go through the questions. Apple's a company I've been invested in now since I was in high school. I've never owned an Apple product a day in my life. Never. Well, hold on. I just lied. My mom bought, okay, I've never bought for myself an Apple product a day in my life. That is true. I've never bought an Apple product, but my mom bought me an iPod when iPods were a thing. That's the only Apple product I've ever owned. I've never had an iPhone, never had an iPad, never had a MacBook, never had none of that other stuff, just an iPod. So, but in saying all of that, I've seen the potential that Apple had behind it from a young age. So Apple's always had potential. Apple's always had a following. Apple always had that innovative mindset. And I saw that even though I didn't really care for their products. So we're going to tie the questions into all this. So why am I invested into this business? I just told you, I saw the innovative mindset that Apple had. Even though I've never used their products, I know people who use their products. They talk about 6 degrees of separation. If I had to look at my 6 closest friends, I'd say about half of them use Apple products. Other half are like Android users. Um, do you actually understand the business and what they do? So Apple is not only a tech company. Apple doesn't only make iPhones, um, iPads, computers. They started in that realm, but Apple is a tech communications company. Apple falls under the classification as a tech communications company because they actually have products that allow them to communicate with the end user. So the Apple Store, iTunes, Apple TV. So those apps actually allow you to communicate. If a user has to input data and that data is stored somewhere in Apple's servers, and then they can therefore communicate with that user, their communications company. So that's that. Does the business have a long-lasting model and can they compete within their sector? Yes, I'll show you why. Can this business grow and expand, and can they do so without going broke? So both of those questions kind of go hand in hand. So I'm going to switch back over to the internet page so that we can actually take a look at Apple. So whenever I'm going through to try to find a company, so right now I'm looking at Apple, but this can be for any company. You can put any company into Yahoo Finance. You can put it into Google Finance. You can put it into Morningstar. Any website that will give you a detailed view of a company, you can put it in there and look at it, check it out. For the most part, it will give you the exact same data because numbers don't lie, and the numbers and the data should be consistent no matter what website you look at. Like if I pull this up on Google Finance, I should see that the stock price is the same. The stock market isn't open right now, so it should be. All right, so in talking about can a company compete within its sector, Google and Yahoo Finance are really nice because whenever you pull up a stock, across the top, it'll give you all these tabs. So the outlook, you can find the chart, what people are saying about the company, their statistics, historical data, their analytics, the holders, financials. You can look at all of that stuff, but then you can also scroll down and look to the right, and sometimes they would have a little, I think Google Finance does, a big block down at the bottom where you can look at competitors. But for here on Yahoo, it's on the side. This is it's only a little square here. But Amazon, Tesla, Facebook, Google, and Netflix are competitors in the same space as Apple. They have digital communications products, they have apps, they have digital physical products that they can give to people, things that people can actually use. With Facebook, Facebook is not so much a hands-on digital product, but whenever you get a phone or whenever you get any type of digital device now, even TVs, Facebook is one of those preloaded apps. So I feel like anything that you have in your hand or anything that you're using that's digital has Facebook attached to it. You can delete it, but it has that attached. So those are the competitors, and can they compete in the space? Yes. So how do I know? Let me go back to the question just to make sure I'm answering it the way I'm supposed to. Long-lasting business model, and can they compete within their sector? All right, so business model. Apple's business model from the start was to be the greatest tech company, best computer company out there. But whenever you start looking at the intricate pieces and parts of their business model, they're growing and expanding in the handheld digital space, handhelds being the iPads, their tablets, and their phones, in the computer space, in the TV space, and then in to what they were trying to do. Hopefully they could possibly revive the program, but the car space, to be a more direct competitor with Tesla. So their current business model is working for them. They have a loyal following to all of their products. They have an iOS system that works. They have a system that currently, with the user base that they have, is sustainable. Year over year, quarter over quarter, should have said quarter over quarter first, but they're gaining more users and they're keeping the current users that they have. They're not necessarily losing a lot of their base to Android or to an Asian market. And then the other thing, speaking of Asian market room to grow, they haven't even fully expanded into the Asian market, the African market, the South American market. So they have other markets that they can definitely expand into. That's grow and expand. And then can they do so without going broke? So these tabs that I was telling you about across the top, they're financials. So if you click on financials, the page will load and you'll be able to see their income statement, their balance sheet. So when people are talking about a company and can they grow without breaking the bank, Apple has no problem whatsoever with money. They have plenty of money. Hold on for a second. What I'm showing, are you guys actually able to see this page that I'm showing you now? Because I see some.
Nah, you ain't not sharing.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry. Now can you see it?
Mm-mm.
No.
I don't see it.
Okay. I think it might be. Well, Mr. Levels, I'll put the links in the chat. I'm sorry. Because I don't know if he left the settings open, because I can see where I'm sharing my screen, but it doesn't show for you guys. If there's an echo, yeah. Sorry. Hold on. Okay. I'm in here on his computer. I'm just going to see if it'll actually work in here. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So you guys able to see it now and hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the financials is what I was getting ready to show you guys, because we were talking about growth and expansion. So when we talk about growth and expansion and can they do so without going broke, this is the area where we're going to be looking. So this is their income statement. Um, this will pretty much have all the numbers that we're ever going to talk about for the most part. For a company, you can pretty much find them all right here. Um, that's the really cool thing about Yahoo Finance, is that they have the income statements available. You don't have to go digging and, hurt yourself trying to find all the answers. So can Apple do so without going broke? Well, Apple has right now in the bank a little over $200 billion. Um, so when we talk about how much money companies have on hand, how much they can actually use for research, growth, development, and stuff like that, Apple has a ton of money. Apple has so much money in cash reserves on hand right now that they surpass a lot of mid-sized companies. If they wanted to, they could buy several mid-sized companies that are traded in the United States and be perfectly fine because they have just that much money. They're just swimming in money. Um, so yes, to answer that question, they do have room to grow. They do have the money for the expansion, and they can do so without going broke. And then one of the last questions I had was, could you explain the company in an easy way? So, an easy way to explain Apple: Apple is a telecommunications company that makes digital devices, and they're currently trying to expand into the auto market. Like, that's the easiest way to put it. If someone didn't know what all of that stuff meant, you could say Apple is a company that makes um, devices, communications devices, and they make communication apps. He went to go get your food. So, and they make apps that you can communicate with. That's the easiest way you can explain Apple to someone if you wanted to explain it in just a couple of sentences. So the other thing that I had on the list was actually going to the website. So Apple's website's apple.com. Very simple and easy to remember. So whenever you get to their website, everybody always focuses here at the top. Everybody's like, oh, I'm going to buy something. I want to see what the new computer is like. I want to check out the new phone, whatever. Nope. As an investor, like I said, every company has an investor relations page if they're publicly traded. So what you're going to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom. You're going to skip all of that noise, because essentially that's what it is. It's noise. And come down here to the bottom. So you're going to see those same links that are up at the top, but just condensed down at the bottom. But what you're going to be looking for is some type of header that says like about or for, and under that you'll see investors. And this will be for any company. Like, we can type in any company you want to see and the page will be here. Or the page will be there on their website. It's always going to be at the bottom. So this is the really cool part for me about Apple's website, because you can actually come here, you can get investor updates, you can see their newsroom and see what's going on in the space. You can see any type of big news releases, big news issues that they might be having. I suspect that either later on tonight, sometime over the weekend, or on Monday morning, they're going to add the news article about Epic and the App Store investigation in the United States, because that brought Apple's stock price down after hours today. But that should be here relatively soon. And then financial data. What you're really here for is the financial data. We're going to be talking about all of these quarterly reports, all of these annual reports, what they mean, how to read through them and understand everything that's going on. One of the other things is leadership and governance. So you should always know who the CEO is of the company that you're buying. You don't have to go and research their whole life, but you should at least know their name. I say this because there was a CEO in the last couple of years or so who passed away in a ski accident. And there were investors who didn't even realize who it was until it showed up in the news and they watched their stock price go down. They're like, why is the stock dropping? Your CEO just passed away in a ski accident. That's kind of important. You should at least have known his name. Tim Cook. Tim Cook's the CEO of Apple, has been with Apple now for about a decade or so. There was an article 2 weeks ago. They gave Tim Cook a thank you for being our CEO and for helping to grow our company over the last 10 years. They gave him a little over 5 million shares of Apple stock, which he sold to the tune of about $750 million. So yeah, that was quite the thank you. But yeah, knowing that is important. Knowing his name is important. Also knowing the CFO of the company is important because they're the chief financial officer. Also knowing who the operating officer is. You know, you, like I said, you don't have to know who these people are in depth, but knowing their name at least is going to be important. And you're going to be able to keep up with these things because growing a stock portfolio isn't something that you're just going to be able to do like at a snap of a finger. It's something you should really pour yourself into, dedicate yourself to, and like treat these like kids. Like you want to be able to give your time and attention to them. If you feel like you're falling behind in information in one versus another, then that lets you know that you need to take a step back and kind of reevaluate how you're dedicating your time to looking at your portfolio. So, you know, on the website, you can find your stock price. You can find pretty much all that same information that we looked at on Yahoo Finance. You can find it here. Anything that they are trying to do business-wise for growth and expansion, if it's something that they will need to file paperwork for with the SEC, it'll be here. Whenever they redo their billing and stuff for the next, their billing for the business, that just being like their filings, you know, all that stuff, you'll find it here. That stock that they had to give Tim Cook, it's here. So you'll be able to see the filing because they have to actually tell the SEC anytime they're rewarding any of their higher ups stock, anytime they're giving out bonuses in the form of stock, it has to be recorded to the SEC because the amount of stock that they give out, especially when they're giving it to someone that's in the C-suite, that's a corporate person, that's a chief of something, that can have an impact on the stock price. And the SEC just likes to know ahead of time when something like that is going to happen because, you know, should they need to pause or halt trading, they will do so. So I just clicked on one of them so you can see what it looks like. You know, they put the name of the person, they put all the information on here. This is almost like a tax form, it, you know, just from the looks of it, but it's just letting the SEC know like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're getting ready to do. Then you have some frequently asked questions there. But for the most part, this is what we're going to be doing for companies that we're looking into, companies that we're going to be deep diving into. I'm going to go back really quick to the Yahoo Finance page and just kind of talk about this. I'm not going to go into any detail about it, but when we start looking at companies, these are the numbers again that we're going to be looking at. I just want you over the weekend to pick a company. For those of you who had the questions ahead of time, you can go back to the company that you sent to me and just look at these numbers. Just look at what these things are. You don't have to research definitions. I just want you to get familiar with just looking at the terms, because a lot of times when you start something new, when you start investing, the terms can be overwhelming. We're going to break these things down in a way that you're going to be able to understand it. But I just want you to see it. I just want you to get familiar with seeing it, get familiar with how these things look, and just know that what we're getting ready to start doing is just really going to impact and change how you see business, maybe your own business, how you see corporations, how you see how our administration treats corporations, because we're going to start looking at like that over $200 billion that Apple has on hand. Where are they keeping it? Why are they keeping it like that? So like, for instance, most of that money is held in bonds. Most of that money is held in bonds right now. Rates are low. It's a nice, safe, quick place for them to have money. It's not cheap to keep money in the United States, but then if you hold money in bonds, you get a tax write-off for it. So people wonder why corporations get off with not having to pay a lot of tax. Well, they typically hold a lot of their money in bonds. They can do that because trying to hold money in a bank account here in the United States, should something happen, the money's gone. So other countries have more lenient rules. That's why a lot of companies tend to take their money overseas. That's why they tend to take their money to Barclays or HSBC or to the Bahamas. It's not always offshore tax sheltering. It's because those countries have more lenient rules that allow them to store their money more safely. So we'll be looking at all of that. Looking at different headquarters, why companies put their headquarters where they do. It just goes back to what I just said, the safety of their money. So I'm going to put a link in the Telegram group chat. It's for a video on YouTube, but you can also find it on Netflix. It's Stock Market Explained. I really like the video because in trying to explain the stock market, I had like this PowerPoint and it had like 56 slides about how to tell you guys about the stock market and stuff. But it's short. It's like 17 minutes. You can watch it with your kids. Your kids would understand it. There are kids in the video. It uses a lemonade stand as an example for, a business that could be traded in the stock market. It'll help you to just kind of get your feet wet. If you know nothing about the stock market, it will definitely help you to understand. It'll also help you to understand some of what's going on right now with our economy. So I am not going to stay on here long because it's almost 9. So like, I'm gonna be done in like 5 minutes. All right. So the very beginning of that stock video is important. It's going to be cool for you guys to see that. It ties into the stock market because it shows how wages are flat. It shows how the GDP, how the expenses and the income of the United States is relatively flat. It shows how everything is flat except for the stock market. The stock market just keeps going up and up and up. Why does it keep going up, up, up? Remember, our stock market is based on the dollar. The dollar is a debt instrument. So the more debt we have, the better that is for the economy. Even though it causes the dollar to shrink, because we are creating debt and companies use that money and they use that money to grow and expand, you see that debt manifest itself in the stock market through company growth, through corporate growth. So that's how I see it, because everything else is still flat in the economy, hasn't grown, hasn't done anything. So when we start hitting these higher highs, that just shows me that corporations are getting more and more money. It doesn't necessarily tell me about the little man, so to say. It just tells me about what corporate life is like, and corporate life is booming. So, we're going to be tying this into all of our Forex items from now on. So the consumer price index, going back to Apple, for instance, Apple makes products that people can buy. So they will be manifested in the consumer price index in the digital department. Like when we look at tech, handhelds, digital items, that's where Apple would show up there. It would also show up in, the Canadian side as well. Retail sales, Apple has retail stores. They have, their digital products, the Apple store. All retail sales for Apple would show up here in some way, shape, or form. Jobs, Apple employs people, consumer sentiment. We're going to tie consumer sentiment into it as well, because as people feel confident about the economy, they'll be more likely to spend more money. So they'll be like, oh, okay, $1,200 for a new iPhone. Cool, I'll pay that because I'm good with money. I know money's still coming in. But if people are not sure about the future, people are going to be less likely to buy a $1,200 phone, because they're like, well, my phone works just fine, or I can function with a cracked screen, or a phone that only holds a charge for like 6 hours. They'll be more likely to deal with the little nuances as opposed to just getting a new phone. So we'll be tying the stock market into all of this. Next week, I'm going to go through the basics really quick again on Monday, just to kind of get you guys in the mindset of thinking about stocks, how to think about stocks. But then Wednesday and Friday, we're going to actually be looking at just random stocks, just different stocks. We're going to be actually starting to go into their fact sheets, how to pick the stocks. We're going to start talking about how to do that, how to build a successful portfolio. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I will say that now. It's based on what your goals are, how old you are, and what you're really looking for out of the stock market. So we're definitely going to be diving into all of that. I know Marlon had asked me about options. I'll tell you guys on Friday how options can, be of benefit to you if that's what you want to do. Because a lot of the things that we'll be looking at as far as the numbers, they're going to be closely related. We won't actually just talk about how to trade options or anything like that, but I can go ahead and just kind of, give you guys some insight onto what we'll be covering, several months from now in more detail with the options and stuff. All right, so it's 8:59. Told you guys I was only going to be about 5 minutes. I'm not going to keep you guys on this call. So, does anybody have any questions about anything?
Hey, this is Tycher. I do have a quick question. Now, the questions that you mentioned at the beginning, I don't know where to find them. And were you sharing your screen when you were reciting those questions, or is there a place that we can find them?
Yep. So as soon as we get off this Zoom call, I'm actually going to put them in the Telegram group. They were questions I had given out on a previous Zoom call. but I was reading them. I just didn't realize you guys couldn't see my screen. But after this Zoom call, yes, everybody will be able to see and have access to those questions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, cool. So if nobody else has any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and end the Zoom call. I will probably start with in the morning. I just have some stuff I just want to go ahead and get out to you guys too. So if you see messages in Telegram, I'm just, starting to give out some information so that you guys can just start researching and doing different things. Because I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed. I want us to be able to take our time and have fun with this. So, guys, go and enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Let your family and friends know that you love them while we're still here. And peace and love, everybody.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
That's the only thing about